Call the meeting to order and want to welcome everybody tonight. We'll start with a prayer from Steve Ayers from Lifeline Connect Church, followed by the pledge.
Let's pray. Lord, I thank you for your love and your grace. And Lord, I continually pray for our leaders in our village and the staff. And Lord, I pray that you give them wisdom and guidance. Lord, let them stay focused on the duties that you have given them. And Lord, we'll give you all the praise and all the glory. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Amen.
Yeah.
Okay, joint meeting with the trustees. Have a roll call, please, Cheryl.
Barth.
Yeah.
Bassett.
Here.
Beverly.
Yes.
Egley.
Here.
Martin.
Here.
Klepper.
Here.
The trustees Zedike.
Yes.
McCullough.
Here.
Metz.
Here.
Okay, any discussion, anything needs to be brought up? Either way, trustees or council, anything needs brought to our attention? No?
Everything's hunky-dory as far as I know.
Running smooth, huh?
Well, thanks, annexation where the Van Crest, you guys had to release that, so thanks.
We didn't really have much choice.
Well, still, you had a vote on it, so appreciate that.
We look forward to seeing him do some good things out there.
Yeah.
It's gonna be really good.
Yeah.
I know recently you also gave some money towards the stoning of the part of the cemetery.
Well, we're having it stoned yet.
Right.
It's,
You guys
I think he's only got one load in there.
right now.
It's supposed to stone the whole new side,
Right.
be the side of the.
Right. There's quite a few
It was
getting
kind
wore
of-
down and pretty lot of puddles and forming and stuff, and people want to go visit, spend time out there with loved ones and stuff. It's they're kind of swerving around them. We don't really want them into the grassy area too, because that ruts it out. But
I had one gentleman laying a few times, and boils down to is unless we can get somebody down there to patrol to drive 5 miles an hour through the cemetery,
Right.
which they don't.
right.
And it's getting, you're driving through stone,
Yep.
it's gonna blow it up. It's a
Good.
swamp. Always is, always
Yep.
has been.
Yep. Thank you for doing that, though.
Any other discussion on this joint meeting? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the joint meeting.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
I was glad. You guys have any big projects you're working on? I'm sorry.
Bunch of road projects.
Is there?
We got,
Around?
pushing 400,000 or something like that, road projects.
Is there anything that's going to reroute traffic maybe into the city that we would need to know about, or any type of that kind of thing?
The only one that I know of that would probably affect would be, but that's county, is Buckskin. They're completely remediate that road, where they'll grind it up and reset it. But they told us it'll only be a mile at a time,
Okay.
so it shouldn't be too bad.
Cool. All right. Sorry about that.
Oh, that's fine. That's what this meeting's for. We have a first and a second to close this meeting.
Who's
Roll
the
call.
second?
Mike?
Okay.
Maybe we haven't had a second.
Second.
Okay.
Thank you guys for your time and what you do.
Roll call.
Thank you.
Barth.
Yes.
Beverly.
Yes.
Bassett.
Yes.
Klepper.
Yes.
Martin.
Yes.
Egley.
Yes.
Metz.
Yep.
McCullough.
Yes.
Zedike.
Yes.
Okay, this joint meeting is adjourned and we'll return to regular session.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
You can stick around if you want. Okay, have before you the council minutes. You have a copy in your, any additions or corrections?
Motion to approve as written.
Second,
I second it.
roll call.
Klepper.
Yes.
Martin.
Yes.
Egley.
Yes.
Bassett.
Yes.
Beverly.
Yes.
Barth.
Yes.
Okay, have before you the bills. I need for your approval. Any questions, comments?
Is that the last one to IFM?
So is that the actual operator, or is that the penalty?
Penalty.
That's
Because the penalty was supposed to be 10,000, I thought.
Wow.
Well, almost.
month.
Well, I thought it was rounded to 10,000.
I don't know.
I don't remember.
I know they said we owed them for 1 month.
Past when we canceled.
Yeah.
And we had them through
And that's the normal,
February.
that's the normal monthly fee.
Yep.
We had them through February.
We had them through April, and then we paid penalty for May.
When
Yeah.
Joel started.
Because
Yeah,
we started
'cause we-
April 20th.
We kept
He
them
started
on
April
for
20th.
April.
That's what I wasn't sure when Joel started.
Yep.
I thought there was something else.
Last month and this month and the month before, we have spent, ever since our guy resigned his position and we got down there, we have spent a ton of money on that place. And I know it needed it. But is anybody, I mean, I'm sure Corey is, but the money we're spending and you look back and you can't really tell by what this says. You would have to go to Cheryl and go through each one to find out if we're duplicating things or what's going on, but we're just spending a ton of money down there. And I know it was in a bad shape when we took it back, but,
Can you give an example? You said you got some highlighted, just so we all know what you're talking about?
The UV ones on this bill.
yeah, but I mean, you know, the septic receiving, we had a bill on that on the last billing period. And Johnson Controls is another 1,300. The pumps, on Denon Drive, we've got, I mean, our guys used to do that. But I don't know if these are replacement costs or
Yeah, I have.
Did we actually buy a new
repair
pump?
parts or what they are, you know, so. It's just
Just gotta keep an eye
a
on it.
lot of stuff.
A lot of stuff that wasn't budgeted for. I mean,
Exactly,
that's-
yeah.
that-
And here's
budget for all
something,
this work.
this is as good a place as any to interject this to, and I'm on the Water and Sewer Committee, but I don't want to have a meeting. I think it's best if we do it right here, right now. Has anybody met our new guy? I've never met him. Maybe
I
he
went down
was.
and talked to him at
I
the,
met them during their interview process.
Okay.
I went down and saw him at the plant.
Yes, I was listening to him a little bit, the interview.
I think it would be great if he came to a meeting, just so we can all
Yep. I'll
get to
make a
know
note.
him. And plus, and it's not that I have, it's not that I don't trust him or I don't trust anybody. I can walk through that sewer plant tomorrow, and I'm pretty mechanically inclined, as you would be too if you walk through it. But I can't catch everything because I couldn't run that plant. Not tomorrow. I might be able to in a few months, but not tomorrow. I would like to see us hire somebody, like once a month or once every couple months, to walk through there. Just like Ron had done. Walk through, see the things that hopefully are not wrong. But if he sees something, we'll catch it before we start having, that's like taking care of an old car. If you keep up with it, it don't cost you much to keep it going. But you start letting things slide and then you go back in and fix everything at once, you got a big bill.
I believe IFM was supposed to put together basically an operations manual that's supposed to have checks that
Preventive
are,
maintenance.
We had one of those.
well, what I'm saying is, those sheets are supposed to be turned in to our administrator.
Have you've never drove trucks, so you haven't filled out a logbook?
I know what a logbook is.
Okay, that don't take very long to fill that out, and you never get out of the seat.
However, we do have an administrator whose responsibility it is to oversee
But
that.
Corey could walk through there with me, and neither one of us would see some of the things that we should be seeing. It takes somebody that knows how to run a plant. So,
My understanding is since the reason why we've been spending so much money, because we've been fixing problems that have been going on for a long time.
exactly.
What's that one thing that was just fixed that's supposed to create revenue?
Septic receiving.
So what was that repair cost?
That's what he was
That
talking about.
1,300 was for Johnston Controls.
How long has that been
was
out?
For VFD program.
Over years.
Year
For years.
now.
We haven't used it in a long time.
So, I don't know, I'm trying to be fiscally responsible with you, but it seems like if they're fixing problems, that should hopefully get to a point where we're gonna be running a lot smoother and we're not gonna have these issues popping up. I
Correct.
think it's a good idea, what you're talking about, having a walkthrough. I don't know if we should necessarily hire somebody, we should try to have our internal people come up with the program first.
Well, I guess for an example, back when I was in business, I was certified by the state of Ohio for underground fuel storage tanks, retrofit, and rework them, everything, installations, the whole thing. But I couldn't do it myself. I had to hire somebody else to watch me. Everybody was like, I mean, you had to hire somebody to watch you do it, to swear to God that's what you did. So I don't want Eric going down there, I don't want you going down there, I don't
You
want
want a
Corey
third
going down
party- a
there.
third
I want a
party.
third party to walk in there, take a look at it, a third party that knows how to run a plant. Probably an IFM guy. I mean, right off the top of my
I'll
head.
check with Corey and see if we got a plan from them.
Mhm.
And also, I think it'd be good for all of us to meet the new guy.
Yes,
And you get a feeling how,
yes.
I hear he's really good.
Well, I went down and met him at the plant and had about a half-hour talk with him. He seems like he's more hands-on. It's talk, you know, not action. I did see him with the big rain we had Saturday, the Defiance Lift Station again, had all kinds of towels, shirts, rags. It backed up, it got caught. Both Lucas and him were at the plant Saturday in that store, pulling things. I saw both their trucks, I saw them together, and to me, that's a good thing. You know, he doesn't live in town, but he's getting the job done. Seemed like a nice young man. My thought was this on Ron, and I was thinking the same thing. I have all the faith in the world that Joel's gonna run the prep properly and efficiently, but even keeping Ron Daniels on for a little while, just to see some oversight. He knows how to run the plant, he's done it
Oh,
for
sure,
years, and
sure,
he's
sure.
mechanically inclined. I had mentioned to Corey a while back if Ron was gonna stay on part-time, just to see if this guy is staying up with, he's catching up on some older things that need to be done, plus, he's got probably some things that he wants to implement. Ron would probably understand that kind of stuff and know if it's down the right path and what we need and different things like that, so that was my
I'll
thought.
have a talk with
Same
Corey,
thing, so.
but I know there was one flow that they caught, because we had a lot more overflow, the numbers weren't right, and I forget who caught that. You remember, I think it was it Ron Daniels caught
Was it
With
from
Ron.
the waves in the system that was?
I think it was the orbital ditch, and it wasn't calibrated right. That was
Okay.
one of the first things, but I can't remember.
I remember.
Our numbers weren't good. They
Yeah.
were worse, remember that? Now they're back to where they
Yep.
should. It
That
was
was
all
when
because
IFM
of
was in there.
calibration.
Sure.
It was
This
like
whole time, yeah.
250, 300,000 gallons off,
Yeah,
It
it
was
was
calibrated.
huge.
because the pumps weren't supposed to be running, they did it.
So anyway, I'll get with Corey, and good point.
But I just think that until we have the confidence in Joel that we have in Ron, that it's not gonna hurt, so it costs a little bit of money. I'd rather spend a little bit now and find out that everything's perfect or there's a few problems than to wait as long as we did with the last guy.
I'll check with the administrator. Okay, anything?
And that's all I've got, and so
Do
pay
we
the
have-
bills.
Do we have any updates? I see this is our second invoice from Choice One on our long-term control plan. Has anybody heard on,
We don't have it set in stone yet.
they haven't submitted anything to the EPA yet?
We haven't heard from them with their answer yet.
Okay.
Okay, any other,
I'll second Ron's motion to pay bills.
roll call?
Barth,
Abstain.
Egley? Yes. Bassett?
Yes.
Martin?
Yes.
Beverly?
Yes.
Clifford?
Yes.
Okay, boards and commissions, Board of Zoning Appeals met May 11th, minutes are in the packet. They got a variance, yeah, that passed. Hicksville TV Board met April 9th, minutes are in the packet. Is there anybody on that? Bill is here, or there? Okay. Okay, the Mayor's Commission, minutes are in the packets about the new municipal complex. That was there.
Does anybody have any idea how that walkthrough went with Corey?
I heard a little bit from Corey, they were surprised how we're spread out. Was that in the?
Did he give you any indication, Ron, when
No.
they might get back with him?
No.
Okay.
I don't know, he may know, but I don't know.
Okay.
Council Committee Report, Street Light and Property Committee met May 4th. Charlie, you want to talk about that?
That was wrong.
Personnel?
Oh,
No, street light, you're right.
Property.
Yeah, okay.
which one do you want?
Let's go down the line. Street light and property, sorry.
We met regarding, I believe it was the chief and fire department, wanted to eliminate parking on that section, and then the section of Cornelia on the other side of Main to Bryan. We all, Tony drove it, I drove it, Eric lives there, Taylor lives there. We don't see a problem. Julie and Lori Cleland, who grew up there, and her mother still owns the home there, they were here, and we've all decided, a vote of 3-0, to leave things as they are. The only thing that we would like to change, and somehow it got changed through time, is there at Cheryl's house, where Cheryl lives on the corner of Smith and Maple Extension. Is it
Maple.
Maple? Okay.
North Maple.
There used to be a sign back between Cheryl's and where Norm Miller lived. Linda lives there now. No parking here to corner. Now it just says no parking. We would like to replace that sign with no parking here to corner. Everything else, leave it alone. That's what the full committee voted, and that's how we.
So, just so I'm clear, so parking will be added theoretically back to Maple Street?
No,
Because there's no parking on Maple Street now.
So, which sign is being
there's a
revised?
sign, you know where the stop sign is? Just back just a little bit is a no parking sign. That's the only no parking sign on that section of street.
You're changing it to no parking from here to corner?
From that sign, which will be put at about her
Driveway.
north corner, at her driveway, no parking from there to Smith.
So they would be able to park then on Maple Street.
In front of the sign towards.
Yeah.
Oh, theoretically, okay, yeah, okay. Thanks for that clarification.
So this whole there's nothing in here about Cornelia, so should that be added? 100 East and West Cornelia?
Yeah, I mean, the entire project.
That's not
that
in
was
your minutes.
Proposed to us was voted as one unit. So
Okay.
all of Cornelia is to be left alone,
Okay.
except for that corner.
Yeah, there were a couple citizens thought it ought to be no parking.
Yeah, the one of the complaints that we took was a car parking in front of a driveway opposite side of the
Yes.
street.
And that's the
And then not
reason,
being able to back out with a pickup truck.
yeah,
That was a complaint.
yeah.
The one complaint that was brought to me, and not by the person that logged the complaint, but through a friend of hers, she's got the best opportunity in the world on that street. She's got a concrete circular drive. Now, maybe it happened once, or I don't know, but the meeting was set, the meeting was advertised that it was gonna happen. The only people that were here were the Cleveland girls, and that's what we voted on. So if you
Okay.
guys would like to take another vote here, or just leave it go, it's entirely up to y'all.
I think committee recommend, you guys okay, what they recommend? But I think it should be in the minutes that it was Cornelia.
All of Cornelia from,
East,
Yeah, I agree.
east and west.
yes,
100 block,
yes.
yeah.
And
It's not in here.
I'm sorry I left that out.
Okay.
I-
All right. Thanks, committee. Okay, now personnel, you met the same night?
Yep. We met on
Okay.
Monday. And we had a couple of requests. First was from John Elwood regarding longevity pay. He didn't receive it mainly because he had been a volunteer for some of the time and then full-time. So we voted just to prorate it depending on if he was a volunteer. Because the pay different, it's different scales, like they get paid more if they're full-time, I think. And you saw that in the bills, that
Yeah,
he did
there's a
receive the
list.
longevity pay. The second one was a little different. apparently there was a policy that if you took an exam that ended without a passing score, and you left, you get charged for it. In this situation, that individual never left, but he was charged for it, but it was 10 to 12 years ago. So Cheryl's looking for the policy to see, why it was that way. I think the biggest hurdle with that is because it was so long ago. We'll cover that.
Mhm.
It was a test, but he paid for the class. So,
The
water superintendent came requesting a raise because Joel came on board higher than she was, and she brought a resume to the meeting, explained where she wanted to be at and why she thought she needed to be there. And we basically presented the findings to the village administrator, and it's gonna be up to him.
Okay.
And then the second request was moving up the hiring process of Troy's replacement, because we're down a person when it comes to being certified to take the water readings. Is that right? You guys? Okay, I just wanted to make sure. Yep, so we need a second backup, and that was another thing that we're kind of looking into to see if we do. But currently, we're gonna post the Troy's replacement in August of 2022, interview in September, and hire in the beginning of October. So, if anything, that may get moved up or it may not.
Okay, thanks. Committee, any
Any questions?
questions for the committee? Well done. Administrator's report, I think that's in there. Corey's not here tonight. Like everybody knows, there's been a lot of construction going around town, water valves on the street, so everybody needs to be really careful.
Energy optimizer starts on our building tomorrow.
Okay, I saw that. Lots going on. Any questions for Corey? I can talk to him tomorrow if you do. Or you can call him yourself, but I see him about every day. Solicitor's report.
I didn't have any legislation for today. Been working on some research for some things. I had a meeting beforehand, police and fire. Mark had brought a couple of issues he probably was gonna talk about, but I had looked into them relative to there's gonna be a change in the state firework law and a change in the concealed carry law here coming up this summer that are due to take effect from the state of Ohio. And I guess he can talk about that more. What after looking it over and speaking to some people, unless we want to do the handgun one, there's not much we can do really. It's set in stone. The fireworks one does give the village some options relative to what the change does is makes it legal to set off certain classes of fireworks on certain days in the state. There's somebody counted them out, it was like 8 or
14 days.
14 days. And some other provisions about it. So really you had one of about 3 choices. You could do nothing and let the state law go into effect, and those would be days. The statute does give municipalities, some townships and counties, that's kind of a little more gray, but gives you the ability to do like a total ban where you say, we're not gonna permit it. Or there is also a provision where you could restrict it some from a day or a time standpoint. And I talked to a number of people, and it seemed like the majority of people were either doing nothing and let it go into effect, or we're doing the ban. So we're doing that. That was discussed or whatever. I don't know if somebody else wants to comment about that. And then if we choose to do nothing, same with the handgun law where there isn't really anything to do. Every year you'll recall at the end, what's the name, Cheryl? I always forget. The online American Legal does that where they update our code at the end of the year, and they put into our code whatever new stuff we've done. Part of that procedure is our criminal and traffic code, 90% of it is identical to the state code. And so what they do basically is changes that have been made in state code, they make those same changes to our ordinance, and then when we pass that, I go through it. Cheryl usually gives me a copy of everything, and I go through it and make sure it seems like everything's been caught up and check it. But when we pass that, so for instance, the gun law is changing in June 13th.
Wow.
So the state law will be in effect, and whatever the rules and provisions do with that are, our officers can still enforce the state law, and then come around in the fall when we do that, then our village ordinance will get updated to that, and so it'll be identical to the state law again. So we don't really need to take a separate action on that now. We just catch up with that like everything else. The same thing on the fireworks. If we're not doing anything, if we're just gonna let the law go into effect and not restrict it any further or ban it, it'll catch back up in the fall. And if there are fireworks complaints, effective, is that July 1? July 1 it goes into effect. Then our officers will just have to be following the state code as far as what's permitted, not permitted, what days. And I think probably, we're not quite to Memorial Day yet, but since it won't be in effect though, and the chief could discuss this more, the one issue that came up and the way they've treated it, and I know because we've prosecuted at least one person I think in the past that I can remember, is they've pretty much always been about giving somebody a warning the first time, depending on how they act when they're dealt with. I mean, quite frankly, if they're belligerent and a jerk, sometimes the warnings don't get handed out. But all things being equal, if somebody reports them, or if the police notice it and they go and talk to them and figure out who it is, all right, knock it off or whatever, that's against the law. They log that in their system, and then if a week later, a day later, the next year, the same person gets one, they can look in their system, kind of like we talked about. It always comes back to that grass ordinance. The first time they're kind of telling people, hey, you're not supposed to blow your grass out into the road. That gets logged into their database, and then if they get another call about it even a year later, they can look up the person's name and say, oh, hey, he got warned by whoever, patrolman so-and-so last year at this time, so we're going to cite him this time. But that's the catch on all that.
So Chief, you have any comments on those two issues at all?
No, I would interject on as far as fireworks go. We follow the ORC. We go with that.
Okay.
The only thing maybe that I could see is we set a time limit on it, maybe, on the times that you can do it.
Yeah. Okay. We don't have much time on either one of them, do we?
So
July 1st.
That's what we could pass it at any time, obviously, but until
that would be
something's
my
passed.
only, if we
Okay.
set the times that it can be done through. I mean, you're gonna have this no matter what.
Yeah.
But I know when you live in town, people aren't gonna wanna hear this all night long. Because it'll be worse, I think, because it'll be legal to do.
Well, currently it'll be worse because the people are gonna think that that the law is in limbo and they can't be arrested.
Yeah, so.
Kind of like the handgun law is right now. There's been a lot of instances of people getting pulled over following what they know the law's going to be in another month, and it hasn't taken effect yet. And sometimes they've been getting warnings from some people, I don't know locally, but some other agencies. Sometimes they haven't, depending on the circumstances. But we're constitutional carry. Well, not till June.
Not until June 13th.
June 13th, right?
Okay.
So I guess it's up to you. If you want time limits, that's fine. If not, I just say we follow what the ORC does.
Okay. What's the thoughts of the council?
I was gonna say, to kind of follow up, the ordinance committee did meet prior to this meeting, and as a committee, we had voted 3-1 to go ahead and let the state code, basically we would follow that for both of those.
Okay. Good. I didn't.
But obviously, I'm open to hear.
But, Chief, maybe this is a question for Troy or you. Can we put it like, when it gets close to the 4th of July, just put an ad in the paper that you can only do fireworks on certain days from these hours?
Well, you'd have to pass.
Yeah, we'd have to pass.
have to have the
We'd have to
ordinance.
pass an ordinance and modify our current ordinance and say
Not worth it.
we're going to do this and we're going to restrict the hours and times.
I think it would be wise to maybe get that in front of, get the ORC recommendation, basically what they're recommending as far as, you know, what are the holidays, and get it in front of everybody in council,
Yeah.
and then maybe next
That
meeting.
could be re-explored. It's pretty, I mean,
Okay.
it's the obvious holidays plus a few.
Yeah, basically, you don't have to, what is it, you could buy the fires, but take them out of state, or vice versa, or something, so now that's all off the table.
Yeah, no more discussion about buying them out of state and bringing them in state, or buying them in state and taking them out of
Yeah.
state and all that stuff. It's still all the stuff in there about if you're gonna be an exhibitor, like at the Christmas cruise, through all those licensing and permitting and
Yes,
talking to
that
the fire
really-
chief, and that all is still in effect. It's the
So that was the
personal.
ordinance committee that met tonight? Okay, you said vote was 3-1, I guess.
3-1 to basically follow the state code.
3-0.
Yeah. 3
Okay, you threw me because only three.
Three, sorry.
That four,
Oh,
Yeah.
3-0, yes, sorry.
committee member.
I thought we had four, so.
3-0, yes.
Okay.
That,
All right, I'm glad you're on top of it, thank you.
yeah, well, yeah, it was one of the things that was discussed. And I do have an email that was sent out to us pertaining to this information, and I can forward it on to you guys. It has basically what the legislation will read.
Okay.
It has the very specific dates in it. Some of them isn't just the holiday, but for the 4th of July, it's the 3rd, the 4th, and the 5th. So I can forward that on to you guys so that you can take a look at it and decide.
Well, we don't see a need to rush into anything, changing anything that's gonna change anyways, because people are gonna set them off. I don't care what you say or what you do. You could tell them that they'll be shot on sight, and they're still gonna sneak around a corner and fire one off.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
okay. Chief, you have a report, or did you just give it?
Well, actually, Troy gave most of it.
Sorry.
you know.
Okay.
That's all right.
Take that one.
So obviously what Troy said, well, starting on those dates, we will follow what the ORC says. And act on that instead of the village ordinance at this time, and then when it updates, obviously, at the end of the year. The only other thing is I was nominated by Judge Strasbaugh, a couple, 2 or 3 months ago, to be on the board of directors for the Northwest Ohio Juvenile Detention Center. I did learn today that I was appointed to the Northwest Ohio Juvenile Detention Center Board of Directors. So,
Congratulations, I guess, right? I mean, it sounds like a lot of work,
So-
maybe?
yeah, it could be. So, but
Well,
other
thanks
than
for
that,
accepting.
I don't really have anything.
Any questions for the chief?
Will your new position affect your position here?
no. Nope. So it's just meetings. So.
I didn't know if we was gonna have to put Bob in charge, or what was gonna have to do.
Yeah. Well, we might. You never know.
Acting chief.
Any other questions for the chief? Okay, thanks.
All right.
Congratulations.
Yep, thanks.
Fire and EMS, I see Mr. Hart's here. You have anything to report?
Yes, I'd like to thank the voters of the village and the surrounding area for voting yes on that levy. And I'd also like to thank the council members for seeing that it needed to be put on at the time. So happy days are there. So haven't heard anything else on our tanker. It's still in line somewhere between here and there. So as soon as we know something, it'll be told.
Okay, any other questions for Bruce? Anything else? That's it?
Everything going good with the manpower you've got?
Yeah, well, our 3 little rookies, they're not getting much work out because we've been quiet.
Oh, geez.
Good.
Those are words you don't say.
Famous last words.
Yeah.
So, yes, they're very active. They're very active in our association plus any player. What's that?
Your page is going off.
It is?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye.
Wow.
Nice job.
We didn't knock hard enough.
Got anything else?
No.
Thanks.
Parks director, I talked to Val, she had another pickup of one of the grandkids somewhere, so she said everything is going well, so I said, no news is good news.
The pool's fixed. I saw there was
Oh, they got a bill in here with it. They found some extra leaks.
The last page is kind of interesting.
Yes.
They're saying that they're not going to touch it again. So,
They're giving up.
The company isn't?
That's
Yeah.
what the last sentence says.
and this is
I
the
thought
only
you guys
company,
might want to read that.
the only company that they've found.
They had somebody else
Never touch
actually.
it.
They got another quote, but it was higher, so.
Yeah.
When's the pool open? Memorial Day?
June, what do you say? I thought this was
Thought it was Monroe.
Third,
Beginning
June
of
3rd, the first day of no kids in school.
Okay,
Those kids' last day of
that's
school is
only a
June
couple
2nd.
weeks away.
But there's no company out there that's gonna take an old liner like that, that's been there forever, and give you any type of warranty or guarantee or
understand
anything. I mean, we're
Next
lucky to
step
find
would-
somebody even work on it and fix it and get it done, so.
The next step would be a new liner. If we're gonna keep
Or a new
it.
pool.
Well, that's a new liner too. Okay. Fiscal officer, Cheryl.
You have your fund status and cash summary as usual, the April Mayor's Court report. I put in a flyer from the EDA, a Public Works program, more money. It's from the Economic Development. I don't know if you guys have looked at that. And then I also put the copy of the invoice I just paid for American Lake where they said they will not be able to make any further repairs. So, we're done with it.
Any questions for Cheryl? Thanks.
I think it's a more than fair price to be down there messing around with it and
That was a good quote.
sealing it and at least making an attempt.
Well, what it has been for the last half dozen fixes, it was about right around $1,000 to fix.
Sounds like here to obviously as we approach budgeting season, we're gonna have to have some conversations about that place. Some serious conversations,
Yes.
not just kicking the can down the road. So
Yep.
But the only thing that's feasible if you're planning on a pool is just to close that one.
Did we price a new?
the new liner was like
50?
56
$51 or something like that.
Yeah.
a year ago. So.
And I'm sure that with the committee that they have and the hard work that they're doing, there's gonna be a splash pad down there. So we should turn our attention to either getting on that bandwagon or starting something of our own to start building a pool for the pool.
Absolutely.
And do not put any, don't even think about a $51,000 liner, just close it.
The only thing is, older kids don't go run through a splash pad. That's the only thing.
Exactly, but
So, yeah, with some thought.
But we're kinda gonna be up against a rock and a hard spot with everything else that's going on in this town and then come up with pool money.
Yeah.
Okay.
Something obviously was discussed previously, but something to consider would be a parks levy. If a new pool is something that we would really want to chase after, or a new, whatever that complex looks like. So, might be something that everybody does a little bit of research on and.
Well, I'm hoping that when they do get down to putting the splash pad in stone in drawings and specs, that they have kind of touched bases with somebody here in the village to incorporate a pool into that same program, so maybe they can share a locker room and shower house and stuff like that. Maybe we can share the pool stuff with that. You know, instead of having both places having that facility. And
I think that's something that needs to be considered. Obviously, there's costs to expand that facility.
Sure.
And as far as they know, the plan is to operate the pool as is. So that's something that definitely needs to be talked about, because I know they're engaging with multiple firms. I haven't gotten a recent update, but.
But if we could have one equipment room pumps and stuff, and, you know, half of that, which would end up being a fairly good-sized building, half of that is the one spot, half of that's the other spot. So we're down to one building, and then we'd be down to one, showers and lockers and things like that. Instead of having each place have to go to the expense of having its own, just a thought.
Makes sense.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, my report, I mentioned earlier, a lot of construction going on downtown. Just be careful. Van Crest had their groundbreaking ceremony last Friday, so if you've been out by there, they're moving dirt. Graduation at Hicksville High School is May the 29th at 2 o'clock. So, how many seniors? Around 70?
I think they said 58.
What is it?
Smaller class. I thought they said 58 the other day.
58, so
It's a smaller class.
support the graduating seniors.
Yeah, there's like 7 or 8 valedictorians, I think.
7.
Yeah, I've never,
Wow.
that is amazing.
You valedictorian, not even the top 10%.
Yeah, yeah,
True.
right. June the 2nd is the first concert series, which would be a week from this Thursday, right? It's gonna be Water to Wine, starts at 7 o'clock at the Huber, and I think the Rotary's gonna have food beforehand.
Yep,
You're gonna be the chef?
I guess so, yes.
Okay.
2
We have
weeks.
some
So-
music. It's 2, it's June 2nd.
The Water to Wine is a good group. It's almost also called the Wannabes, supposedly. It's,
A lot of the same members, yeah.
yeah, so first I thought it was the Wannabes, so Water to Wine is who's gonna be there. We're not meeting till after Memorial Day, so I wanna say happy Memorial Day to everybody and honoring those who gave up their life for our nation. I did a little history. It goes way back to the Civil War, so be with those families that lost loved ones. So anything else needs to be brought before this council?
Is there a parade?
I think so. Bills are gonna be a parade, you said?
All I know is the last program I saw for the Hicksville Band and Choir, the high school band and choir, on the back, they put a list of upcoming events, and one of the upcoming events that they had was the Memorial Day Parade at 10 a.m. on Memorial Day Monday.
Yeah, I would think so, but who's the
The Legion,
commander?
American Legion, Larry Scranton.
Larry
That's where
Scranton.
They usually line everything up.
They usually call me.
Yeah.
I'll
Gonna
call
chair
Larry.
it? You gonna be the chairman of the parade?
Yeah. Grand Marshal.
Anything else needs to be brought before this council?
And tomorrow, Amanda Lee Coffee opens at Rose Rock Garage.
Yep.
Yeah,
Dairy Line,
didn't know
so-
that.
Yep,
Yeah.
that's
The
it.
senior awards at the high school are on Wednesday night, at 6 o'clock.
I looked at the school calendar every day. There's something going on now till the end of the year.
Oh, yeah. And the big district art show is on Friday.
So a lot of things going on, some great things going on in the Ville, so hang on, see what happens next, so.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second, roll call.
Barth,
Yes.
Beverly,
Yes.
Bassett,
Yes.
Egley,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Klepper.
Yes.
So our next meeting won't be 3 weeks, right?
Yep.
So June the 6th, so we got a 3-week break.
Hey, you're not kidding about being busy at the school.